sorry, 3.0 is a roll call of all school board members. We're all present except for King. So we have a quorum and we can continue. 4.0 is to approve the agenda, and I'll make a motion to approve. Any questions or discussion on the agenda? Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 5.0 is communication reports. Start with the finance update. I feel like we haven't seen you in a while.
Well, hello all.
Hi.
Right, I just have 2 points to make tonight, which is always fun to do. Only two that I want to point out is in on the board report for the revenue portion. Our property taxes are down for the month of May, and that's just because they came to us on June 1st. So they'll be booked this month. And then the second one is that local other is up quite significantly, and that's due partially before to our MA billing is up this year, and so is our activity revenue. So that's playing a significant chunk in those two. So any questions on that page? On the second page, our fund balances our other funds are doing fairly well. Community Ed is making some headway in theirs, slowly digging themselves out from their deficit. So they're on their way. Any questions on that page? And then the treasurer's report. We are up still a little bit, or we are up from last year, but down a little bit from last month. And that's just timing of when bills are getting paid. So we're doing okay that way. But that's about all I had tonight.
All right, any questions? Thank you.
Yep.
All right, 5.2 is administration and department head reports. We'll start with Superintendent Grover.
Okay, again, as always, no specific order. Couple reminders and it's just kind of update the whole group. We had our second session with bus drivers where I'm not going to do anything closed session to, we're still moving. We're getting closer. Just a reminder, July 8th at noon is our next session for Lynn, Amanda, and Josh. We also have our first with the teachers booked for July 14th at 11 o'clock. Again, having not negotiated here with that group, they made it sound more like a meet and greet, set rules, get dates set. They said it'd be an hour. Yeah, or a little less. So, part of me wanted to say, let's just set dates, but we'll meet and talk. So, that's that. Just a heads up, the policy committee, which is Amanda, Lindsay, and Holly, we did get a group of policies from MSBA now. So Nancy and I will work on them. And then I think what we'll do is take 4 or 5, email them out, 6, whatever, depending on how major. And then we can decide. Sometimes we met last year and, hashed over some things. Sometimes we just said, no, they're good, so be looking for some of that. Couple things, and it's up to the group. I haven't last couple weeks, I haven't done kind of my Friday. It's just different now. Like right now today, I probably spent half the day running around trying to do Ron stuff. There's just hopefully not major issues. Not that they were major issues, but unless there's something major, I don't plan on probably, sending something on a constant basis unless you want more. We've ran into some issues, I'll be honest, with we had a group come in, we have a leaking air handler in the roof. We got no way to shut it down because Ron was the only one that, knew how to do that and so on. So anyway, we're working on that. I did get a hold of a person that can help us and so on and so forth. Ron's also willing to help, but I just wanted to throw that out there. There is a maintenance employee termination on the board tonight. It's a part-time person that was hired just recently. They've quit showing up. And so it's, again, Nancy actually, because they wouldn't even answer phone, went out to the house to get keys, got keys. So that is that one. I wanted to just make mention, last month we updated or renewed our property coverage, and I told you we were still having some conversation about, are we covered enough or not? And so just to give you an idea, we have, and now this is just the property piece, about 116 million in coverage. Okay. It's on the low end. if everything was completely destroyed, depending on what dollar value you use now, it could be in the ballpark of, on the high end, about 60 million short, on the low end, about 20 million short. It just depends on where prices are, this and that. And so the conversation, and I talked with a couple, Josh and Amanda, as we were waiting at negotiations of, number one, what's the chance of completely everything, meaning all 4 buildings? So right now we have 116 million in property coverage. So just say these 2 buildings, like New Heights and this, we'd have plenty of coverage, according to them. It's only in the event that it completely wiped everything. And I mean, I don't know if you're talking, of course, flood. I think we got a bunch of federal help. It'd take like a tornado or something, even the high winds in Bemidji, it didn't ruin their bill. They have roof damage, this and that. So the question is how much are we willing to gamble? And we don't have to change anything. It's not like it's a personal house. You're the only person on the hook. If something happened, yeah, we'd have to bond. 60 million for 4 new buildings probably wouldn't be a bad bond to go through. And the other piece, to just give you an idea, is to go up 20 million additional coverage would be about 18,000 a year right now. Okay. To go up to 60 million, it'd be about 54,000 just for the insurance. We pay 120 for the property part of it now. So personally, I don't think we do anything, but on the other hand, I told Amanda and Josh, I don't want to be the soul to make this decision. We're in essence underinsured, but it would take losing everything, as far as the buildings. We have other, for contents, we have other for, cybersecurity. This is just the property, meaning the building piece. So it's something to think about. We could change
The bus garage is on that too.
Bus garage, yeah,
5
each of our buildings are on there. And in each one, I have evaluation sheet, right here that he came and met and Carla and I met with him, and it lays it out, but it's just even for his, it just wants us aware. And if we want more, they'd love to sell more. If we're okay with, kind of in essence being underinsured if you lost everything. If we just had 1 building, something majorly, or 2, but we're kind of in 2 spots. So the odds are if something happened to CMS, something probably happened to South Point too. It would cover those 2. You're fine there. So it's something to think about. We can add insurance at any time. But it was not something, as we were talking the renewal, and I mentioned this when we did the renewal, that we were going to have more conversation that, yeah, we're probably on the low end. At some point, maybe we should start, going up a little each year. But if your gut says, no, we're way too underinsured, we need to have more of a discussion and, put an agenda item on the board or something like that. So, any questions on that? I mean,
I don't know if we need to be fully insured. I think the risk of losing all 4 buildings is so low that I don't think it would be worth paying that premium every year for it. If something, like you said, if something were to happen that catastrophic, it would be hard to believe that we wouldn't receive any additional funding from federal or state or something.
Yeah, that's what me and Josh said.
Yeah.
and the other piece, I said, we're paying on just one last piece of this building. I mean,
Right.
for a district our size to not have a bond, a bigger, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be,
Either,
I don't
yeah,
know what
well,
the new school over there, so if you got 4 new buildings for, in essence, 60 million, probably say, let's replace them tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, even though they're only, so anyway, I bring it up because I, like I say, want to be transparent. There's a sheet in front of you from ASEC, and again, it's just, Tiffany put that together. I'd asked for it a while back. It talks about, or they're recommending 3 positions. One is a sped position at South Point. That has been filled, okay? One is for a speech position, which is on tonight's agenda. And then the third is for another sped position in this building, I'm gonna say, in essence, to help Emily, or you can say the 18 to 21 program, they would share with that group of students. That is still out there and open, but this was her rationale for those recommendations, and so I'm sharing that. Two more things. On your agenda, if you noticed, we got or I shouldn't say it's not on there. We got a final, I shouldn't say final notice that our MREA bill was due for renewal, Minnesota Rural Education Association. And I'm like, we haven't gotten it. I didn't get anything, but it expires the end of June. And well, so I contacted, we haven't gotten anything and they didn't get it to me yet. Well, I find out they had a flaw. No one's gotten it yet. It's been 2,500 for the last 5 years. So it is on to be approved tonight, assuming there's no major, because it's due by July 15th. I'm sure they're gonna give some grace because they goofed up. But unless you want it, you have a problem with it or don't think we will, I haven't heard any major changes, so that's on there. And the last thing that was brought to my desk that I don't know what the board stance is, but there was a conversation, or we've been asked to consider co-oping with, for girls hockey with Sacred Heart. Right now, they're with Crookston. And I don't know what this group's, there's a reason it's not on the agenda. I wanted to have a little bit of conversation. We're not under a, time crunch that it has to be done, but they approached Scott, had a conversation. He's, had a conversation with our new girls coach. Which I guess is supportive. And so it's mainly, do you feel we should pursue this or not? It doesn't appear Scott doesn't think we'd be cutting anyone, with numbers, and doesn't-
I guess the only question I would have is how is that going to affect our class size? As far as, are we gonna go from class A to class AA?
we can look at it. I didn't,
I think they have 2 players. that go to-
No, but you don't count those.
but you count your
the
9 through
whole
12.
population. Yeah,
And we can look at that. I mean,
Yeah.
I would think if we were going to a bigger coach, and Scott probably wouldn't be in favor, but it's a valid question.
Yeah,
and then my next question, because I don't know exactly all the high school league rules on that stuff, but I know that if you do it in one, does that count for every sport, or is it just that sport that they count that for?
Every sport is different. Every sport.
Okay, so,
Just
if you-
like you can be in AA for one.
well, yes, I know that, but what I'm saying is if you co-op and you bring that school population over for one sport, does that school population now count for every sport?
No,
Okay,
because that's why, there's, different schools that, I did this as AD, we co-opt.
Yep.
You will for one sport, and yeah, it may go to a different class, others it may not, based on where those cut scores
yes.
population is. But I think that's a valid question. Like I say, and like I said, I'm not against,
I think the hesitancy that has been seen in the past, and I'm not saying like I agree with this or any sorts of means, is that we would lose people, the Sacred Heart. Because now they can play hockey over here.
you think they'd go pay,
I'm
for,
not saying that's my argument.
no, I'm just asking as a group. It's a valid thing. If I thought we were gonna lose kids, I'm not a fan.
We're gonna lose kids,
So there's only 2 roughly that,
roughly.
so our.
I don't know
girls
about the
wouldn't
younger.
miss out a lot of playing
Yeah,
experience.
I can only speak to varsity.
Yeah,
I can't speak to the younger kids.
Okay.
but-
I would hate like if our girls had
Well,
less time because we decided.
But the reality is someone may not make the A team and be B team, that stuff does happen, but on the other hand, maybe a kid or two makes enough difference that they go further, or whatever. It's a juggle type deal. If it's of interest, we'll get more info and, pursue, what size it would and this and that and bring something to you.
Yeah, I think more
Need more.
facts would be
I
helpful.
mean, I'm all about hearing more about it, and I'm open to that, but as far as I'm concerned, if you want to be a part of East Grand Forks, we have a public school,
Oh,
be a part of East Grand Forks. That's just, that's as blunt as I can be about it, and
Oh, yeah.
that's how we do it in youth basketball, and other things in other areas, yeah, like it's a group that's separate from the school, but we still have that pride in our community and the pride in our school and what we do, and so we don't allow Sacred Heart and we don't allow like Grand Forks into our youth programs, so.
I don't disagree with you at all, Josh. But I guess if you look at it from a perspective that our girls hockey program is struggling with numbers,
Yeah.
this might be an exception to that.
Yeah.
But I also would like to talk to more coaches and parents and
Yeah.
put some
I don't
feelers out, see how people
Ever
feel
want
about
to
it.
be called the Green Eagles or anything like that, so.
No,
My one stipulation.
so we will pursue, you guys can have conversation with, whomever, and whether it's next meeting or very soon,
Yeah.
you'll see something, and like I say, we can go from there. I think that is all I have at this point on that.
Any more committee reports?
Okay, so, negotiations were up, policy is coming, I'll set some dates for buildings and grounds. We met earlier with Ron leaving, so we didn't meet. We had originally had a June 16th, but, I believe I'm not part of Ed Foundation unless they ask. I believe they met recently. I don't know who's on that.
We don't meeting again until
14th. Or are you talking?
the education
Okay.
commission.
Yeah. And the other one, the district leadership, we did meet, but, Amanda and I met, meaning because Brian's out of town, or, yeah, is out of town. Soraya, Melissa and Sierra were out of town for a conference. Obviously Jill's leaving and Chad is leaving, and we had no teachers show. So I sent out the summary, but we set dates again. So that's all as far as
And
committees.
the education foundation last meeting was right before graduation, and then our next meeting is right before school start on August 20th. And the last meeting was just to finalize scholarship.
Scholarship.
Like that.
Perfect.
Anything else?
Nope, that's all.
All right, 6.0 is the consent agenda, so I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
You had last time. Any questions, discussion, anything pulled from the consent agenda?
The only comment I'll make, and I know we don't comment a lot, obviously, we'll thank Jill immensely for her service. And also welcome, if you don't know, Mr. Torgerson in the back here is filling those shoes. And so thank you and welcome aboard, assuming all is passed.
All right, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, agenda approved. 7.0 opportunities for citizens to speak on items not on the agenda. Do you have any
I don't have anything.
either? So we'll move on to 8.0 district business. 8.1 is to designate
We
superintendent.
had some, and she didn't let us. she
Oh.
said-
Sorry. Okay, 7.0. We'll go back to 7.0, citizens speak on items on the agenda. Yeah. Okay. You want to come to the mic, please? Yeah. We're gonna have to have you state your name and your address regardless. And then we limit things like we can't necessarily name names and personnel issues, and then we also limit to 3 minutes or somewhere about there. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna get like.
All right. I'm Angela Staus, 219 Mars Drive, East Grand Forks. I was a custodian here at the school, and I just feel I was wrongfully terminated. I was working the night that they had a senior prank. Somebody gave them permission to come into the school to do this senior prank. I don't know who it was, for sure, hearsay. But anyways, they came in. I saw a few girls come in, had a Hugo's bag, didn't think nothing of it because there was volleyball going on in both gyms and cheerleading practice in the hallway and in the other gym. And anyways, so whatever, I'm vacuuming and these girls come in and I said, "What's going on tonight, girls?" They said, "Oh, we're just here to do a senior prank." I said, "Oh, and is this a good thing?" They said, "Yeah, we got permission by," I won't say the name. But anyways, I said, "Okay. All right, I guess if you got permission." And yeah, they had put sticky notes on the windows and balloons and whatnot, but it turned out to be more than what they were supposed to do. I was told that I left the doors open. I propped the doors open for them so they could come in. No, I did not. There's plenty of doors propped open, kids let in from kids who were here playing volleyball and whatnot. On any given day, there are plenty of doors. As I just drove here today, I just saw the door was propped open to the music room down there. Somebody's walking in. It's like so many times, doors are propped open by track players in the gym. They got a garbage can in it over here. I am not here to do security. I am here to do custodial work. I just, yeah, you know. So that's what I say. I don't know.
No, I appreciate you coming, appreciate you, talking with us. There's not a whole lot of back and forth that we can do, but we appreciate hearing
Yeah.
what you have to say.
I was just kind of shocked that I was terminated because my boss had talks about too many people. But anyways, oh, I'm gonna fire that one. Oh, I'm gonna fire that one. And he's never done it. Where they should have been maybe, but I was terminated, and I'm like, okay. So anyways, I just don't feel it was right. So,
Well, thank you for coming and
Yeah.
speaking your piece and certainly
not
have a
that anything's
discussion
gonna
about.
happen about it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can put the mic. All right, 8.0 is district business. 8.1 is to designate Superintendent Kevin Grover, Superintendent of Schools, as the identified official with authority, otherwise known as Iowa, to authorize user access to the Minnesota Department of Education secure website, beginning on July 1st, 2025, as presented and attached. Take a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second. Go ahead.
I think that's funny. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on this?
And just so everyone, I don't know if Matt and Holly are aware, this is, so any system MD for reporting, we go in and on an annual basis, you gotta give permission. And so this will come each year. It's just well, someone has to be.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 8.2 is to approve the arena use agreement. So I'll take a motion to approve the arena use agreement with the city of East Grand Forks for the Civic Center, the VFW Memorial Arena, and the Blue Line Arena in 2025-26 in the amount of $120,000, and for 26-27 in the amount of $125,000, and for 27-28 in the amount of $130,000 as presented and attached in board book. Motion and a second.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on this item?
I have questions.
Yep.
Aren't they supposed to be, they're redoing this, so we know that we can't use it next year for graduation, or maybe the year after, okay? And then also, aren't they doing something with the VFW too?
Yes.
Okay, so are we getting a cheaper rate than we would, since we're not gonna have full access as usual?
No, and we're getting the same rate. If you actually look, it was 110 this year. And there was no,
Less use.
just.
It's gonna continue to go.
Just hear me. The 10,000 increase this year is because there was no increase last year, not knowing what was going to get passed. And there was, I wasn't here obviously, but the discussion was, we'll hold off and see if, there's any additional money or whatever. So that it's been $5,000 a year. I don't know how long. Okay. And so they caught up, if you want to say.
Yeah.
There was conversation on that. Yeah, we've used it for graduation. It's not. I don't know how is that worth, when you look at, how do you break it out, that's the only thing. We're gonna have all the hockey seasons and all that. It's when hockey season is done next year, the construction will start.
In figure skating.
Figure skating and this and that. And I mean, yeah, so I don't know if it's worth, it's again, up to the board. If you wanted me to go back and negotiate something out for the 1 year.
Is that the only thing we know of that we're missing out in is graduation?
Far as
So
Gonna be
when the ice goes out, that's when they're gonna start. I mean, obviously, I'm having conversations for other evacuation areas. I mean, I'm not saying that's what we rent this for. It's a spot, but there's other places as well. But I mean, yeah, graduation. I mean, other than that, we don't go over there for FIAD classes. I mean, it could be used for other things if we had other needs, but,
I just have one question, I guess.
Yeah.
And just because I probably don't know, but this is just used for our varsity teams?
well, no, all those rinks are, I mean,
The agreement is just for the high school teams. though,
for the
right?
most part, the varsity and JVs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Gating and.
Yeah, those are the ones that are,
Yeah.
And they-
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, any user agreement that you have is gonna go up.
yep.
And they are having some conversation. Again, it's not in this, there's some asks. And I think you would know better than I, but I think when the girls hockey came on and maybe they had to do some, locker rooms, the school maybe upped some money into that. There's talk of doing some upgrades. It's not on here, nothing's, but they may come asking, are we interested? Like the boys locker room, been asked to have some upgrades and they're kind of like,
Yeah.
aren't they okay? And if we're the only ones that use those for the most part. And so, yeah, we can have some discussion. I'm not saying it's high on our priority list or not, but, they just brought it up that it's been asked and, if they're interested, they may come have a conversation. And there's some other groups that helped. I think maybe
Yep.
boosters and different, not to say the city wouldn't some, but I just throw it out there that, there is some conversation on things.
And do our high school teams get preferred times then
Yep.
from this and stuff? Okay.
It would be worth looking at the operating costs after construction because they're upgrading the compressor system, the compression system for underneath the ice. So it's
It-
something we can maybe look at.
And the other thing, keep in mind, we do lease levy. I mean, doesn't mean we don't want to be cognizant of the costs, but, we do, as this goes up, we levy the taxpayer some more for it. Again, don't see much when spread out amongst, but, the other thing that I would say, Matt, sometimes they're more efficient, but depends if they, update the dehumidification system, this and
Yeah,
that, it may,
the upfront
other
cost.
things may run more,
Sure.
you
Yep.
know.
What happens if, season?
I don't think that's an option.
I don't see that being an issue.
Could we,
No.
in the rare circumstance it did happen, could we go back and look at this agreement?
Wow,
That's
I
not-
would think the city would be if it's not available and,
Because there's got to be something in this agreement for us to have that ice available in order to pay this, right?
and it's no, I mean, if something happened where it went down and wasn't available, I mean, say the compressors,
I think the city
you
would
know,
have a bigger issue than us.
Yeah.
I
To
think-
be honest.
well, say there was a big Freon, I'm just throwing out
Think
Freon leak
taxpayer
and we
take care of
couldn't
that.
use it. I think the city's gonna go, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not gonna pay 120,000 and not get to use it all
Yeah.
year, so.
Sure.
Okay, good discussion. All those in favor of approving the arena use agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, 8.3 is to approve memberships to MSBA and MREA for the 2025-26 school year.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Any questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9.0 is to pay the claims and accounts.
I'll make the motion to approve payment of K-12 bills 129,604 through 129,665 in the amount of $169,061.30.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10.0, we're at board member comments. So Matt, I'll start with you.
I don't think I have any comments for today.
I just want to say thank you so much to Jill for everything. You're obviously going to be missed and everyone's going to know, and it's a hard time, when you got to change something like that, exciting and all that stuff. But we appreciate everything that you've done for us here and for our building. And I just don't know if you'll look as good in red as you did in green. So, and welcome, Matt.
True.
You'll probably look better in green. You look great.
Amanda?
I want to say thank you to Jill. My son's loved having you as a principal, and I know he's gonna miss you because I haven't even told him yet. We'll miss you and welcome Matt, and I know you'll do great. Thank you for giving us what you had.
Thank you and welcome, Matt. And it's summer, so
It's summer. Yeah.
it's great.
I still can't even look at Joe. No, I just told Bergen the other day, and, he took it okay. And then, I hear around town a lot too, when I'm talking with people about how much they appreciated you, and so, you know, that we appreciate you as well. So we will miss you and welcome Matt. We are lucky to have you as well, so. All right. Next meeting of Board of Education will be July 14th, 2025 at 5:30. We are now gonna recess for a couple minutes because we're gonna have a closed session.